One of the most famous and most widely recited mantras in Tibetan Buddhism is Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. The jewel is in the lotus. And what that means is that when the jewel of the mind rests in the heart of the lotus, of the lotus of the heart, genuine and unshakable compassion and wisdom arises within us. When the mind rests in the heart, we are seeing the world as it really is. We are seeing ourselves as we really are. But we need both. The heart has to be open for the mind to be able to rest inside. So if we think about a time when our hearts are open, but maybe we're not studying the wisdom teachings of impermanence, of emptiness, of interconnectedness, of cause and effect, of karma, then that means our compassion, while our hearts are open, our compassion is not unshakable. It's fragile. There's no wisdom in there. And if we study the wisdom teachings, and yet our hearts are closed, when we need those wisdom teachings to help free us from our pain and suffering, they can't get in. Because if the heart's closed, there's nowhere for it to get into, for us to be able to take those teachings from an intellectual understanding down into a place of knowing, to be able to have the action part. So if we think back to a time when we were feeling hurt, when we had an argument, we had a disagreement, we felt excluded, we felt we were embarrassed, we did something stupid, we made a mistake. And in our pain and our anger and our sadness, we almost always close up our hearts as a way to try and protect ourselves. And so in that being closed off of our hearts, even though maybe we left a Dharma talk just a few hours ago talking about the wisdom of impermanence, it means nothing because our hearts are closed. So in that state, of course, we just keep berating ourselves or we keep replaying it over and over, not allowing the wisdom or the compassion to set us free. But all it takes is just a few kind words. Oh, sweetheart, that was tough. Or, oh, sweetheart, that hurts. Just a few kind words of self-compassion, and our hearts start to open again. And there starts to be some space around our heart. And the thread of the story that we were telling ourselves a few minutes ago about why we were so wronged and why we were in so much pain starts to fall apart. It starts to pull the story apart. And then we start to see, yes, this too is impermanent. This too will pass. And maybe it doesn't mean our pain goes away right away, but our suffering does. We're able to be there with it in a more kind and gentle way. When the jewel of the mind rests in the lotus of the heart, genuine compassion and wisdom arises, but we need the two together. So tonight, we are going to talk about the heart, talk about the intelligence of the heart. It is more than just a pump. And to talk about how to activate the wisdom in our heart. And then we're going to do a heart-centered meditation. And we'll kind of talk about the meditation as we're talking about the heart. So the first thing that we do need to know about the heart is where it is located, because we all seem to think it's way over here for some reason. And really, it is in the center. It's a little bit askew to the left, part of it, but it is definitely in the center. And it is important for us to understand that for the meditation, because we're going to be giving our attention to our heart. So we need to know where our heart is located. And the heart and the brain are always communicating back and forth. But the heart is also its own little brain. It's called the little brain. It has about 40,000 neurons. It can process information. It can learn. It has short-term memory, long-term memory. It has emotions. And so they are always communicating back and forth, but the heart can think independently on its own as well. And when we bring our attention to our hearts, and I know several of you have done this with meditation. We did this actually a year ago. We did quite a lot of this. But when we bring our attention to our hearts, and we imagine as if we are breathing in and out of our heart center, just a few minutes of doing that really activates our heart in a way that that changes our heart rate variability factor. So it brings us into an optimal heart rate variability zone, HRV. Some of you might know of that. That when your HRV, and really all it means is you want variation between your heartbeats, and you ideally want between 50 and 100 milliseconds. So if you are in that high HRV, your cardiovascular health is very good. That's where you're typically in the 50 to 100. Your emotional well-being is pretty stable. You're calm. You're able to handle stress effectively, and you're also more intelligent, right? Higher HRV is associated with higher cognitive intelligence, and a lower HRV is associated with cognitive impairment. So when we come into this, when we bring our heart rate variability into this optimal zone, simply by bringing our attention to our heart center and imagining as if we're breathing in and out of our heart center. When we do this, we bring our heart into coherence. This is our heart's happiest state. It is pumping exactly what it needs to pump. It's not being overly exerted. It's not too lazy. It is exactly where it wants to be. And in this state of heart coherence, it sends a message up to our brain and says, we are all good. We are safe. You can relax too. And the brain will listen to the heart. If the heart says we're good, the brain will go, okay, well, it must be true, so I can chill out as well. But you cannot do it the other way. You cannot have a hurt heart and try and have your brain tell your heart, just chill out and relax. It doesn't work that way. It has to be the jewel of the mind resting in the lotus of the heart. The heart sends the message up to the brain. Now, while this is a really highly desirable state for us, we are functioning really well in this state. This is not where the wisdom comes in. I have one more step. So after we spend a few minutes, and we're going to be doing this in our meditation, of activating that heart coherence by getting that high HRV, then we bring in a heart-centered emotion of kindness, of love, of care, of forgiveness, of generosity, of gratitude, of compassion, compassion with a little c here. When I'm talking about compassion with a big C, it's encompassing all these practices. When I'm talking about it as a little c, as the practice, it's when we have an open and loving heart that meets pain. So compassion practice. So when we take the time then to reflect for a few minutes, maybe on kindness, about something kind that someone did for us, and really feeling that in our heart, how beautiful it felt to be on the receiving end of someone's kindness, or to be thinking about something kind that we did for someone else, and how amazing they must have felt in their heart because we did something kind for them. To always make sure we're not making it about us. It's always about the qualities of kindness, the qualities of gratitude, of generosity, of compassion, of forgiveness. And when we do this, so we spend a few minutes here, reflecting on these qualities. We'll pick one for the meditation. Something really big happens because our energy really shifts at this point when we add on the heart-centered emotion. And our heart has an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times greater than our brain. And when we are in this state, you can measure the energy in 3 feet in every direction with a very sensitive piece of equipment. And we know how amazing this state is when we are around someone that is loving and kind and caring, and they're not judging us in any way, and there's no competition and there's no comparing, and they don't want anything from us. They don't want to change us. They just allow us to be who we are. We love to be with people like that. We are drawn to this energy. And when we are in this state, we love it too. When we have that good energy, those good vibes, and we see everyone in this just beautiful way because we feel whole and complete inside. That's what this does for us. It changes the way we are inside. And what it does then is it allows us to take off these glasses that we are wearing all of the time, that we don't realize we're wearing, that change the way we see the world, that make us see the world as being very separate, as very independent, as solid, as permanent, as seeing ourselves as separate, as independent, as solid and permanent, as being the center of the universe, being self-centered. That in this state, in this energy field, the glasses come off. When the jewel of the mind is resting in the lotus of the heart, the wisdom is there. We are seeing things clearly. We see how connected everything is, how interdependent it is, how everything is arising through all these different causes and conditions in each moment, that each moment is unique. You've never had the same moment twice in your entire life. It has always been a little bit different. And you see how all of this is coming together, how connected we all are, how we are all part of this massive tapestry. And it's beautiful. And when we think about then the person that we were having the argument with, that they have their views and opinions because of the causes and conditions of their life, of where they were brought up, the schools they went to, the people they hung around with, the things they watched on TV, on the internet, that's where their views and opinions came from. And that our views and opinions also are just the result of causes and conditions. We think we are all having these original views and opinions and beliefs. No, they are all being formed from all these different things that are coming, all these different causes and conditions coming together. And then we think, oh, it's my view and opinion, and everyone should agree with me. How dare they not agree with me, right? That's when we're wearing the glasses. But with the glasses off, we see it's just causes and conditions. Why would I hate them? Why would I think badly of them for not agreeing with me? It's the same way on the other side, right? They could be looking at my views and opinions. And if they saw that it's just the result of causes and conditions, wouldn't we all get along a little better? Of course, this affects the way we vote. It affects the way we make donations to certain things, right? But we don't want to impugn anyone for having different opinions than us. We don't want to be impugned. We don't want to impugn them. And this is what happens when the jewel of the mind is resting in the lotus of the heart. We see things clearly. And maybe we're overwhelmed and we've got a lot going on. We're moving houses, we're selling our house, or you've got family that's not well, parents that you're looking after. And we know how easily we can get into that mind of being overwhelmed and our hearts closing off. But in this state, we can remember to be with whatever it is that's arising. Whatever it is. the pain and the discomfort, the sadness, that we can have that compassion for ourselves, to be there, to not resist it, to remember this too shall pass. And when that wisdom is arising with the compassion together, we're able to bear whatever it is that's happening in this moment without the fear of how am I going to deal with it in the next moment. There's no wisdom in that, right? That's when the heart's closing off. But when the heart's open, it's recognizing, I don't have to worry about the next moment. It's just this moment. Just to be here with whatever it is that's arising in this moment. So when the jewel of the mind is resting in the lotus of the heart, we see things clearly. This practice requires both wisdom and compassion. And in Tibetan Buddhism, the example is used of a bird, that a bird needs two wings to fly. And we need wisdom and compassion in order to be enlightened, in order to see reality. If we want it to be stable, we need both wisdom and compassion. And I want to share, just before we do our meditation, I want to share just a couple of little practices that we can also do in a response to when our heart's closing up, when we're getting hurt. So something that we can do outside of the meditation, and then also something we can do preemptively. So first thing I want to share is my gratitude bowl. So this is something that we can all be doing every day to be activating that heart energy. And I do this in a bowl with I wrap them up in little pieces, I have little strips of paper and write on them and then just tuck them inside. And the reason I do it like this is it's so fun to just go back and open and just have a little read about it. It's like a little gift. Oh, what's here? It's like, oh, what's this one today? Reading what's there, like, oh, I forgot about that moment. That was really nice. Or, oh yeah, I forgot about this. That was really nice. So I like doing a gratitude bowl versus a gratitude journal because I find they're like little gifts. And then I also do like to give them as little gifts. So I have these little bags, and then I'll start to accumulate some for a couple people and then give it to them as a gift, because it's one of the most beautiful gifts in the world to have all these little notes of all these little moments that they'd forgotten all about already. And just to remind them of all of those beautiful things that they did and how good it made me feel and how grateful I am. So having a gratitude bowl, I think, is super, super helpful. Talking to ourselves with kindness is unbelievably helpful. Probably my number one practice. Talking kindly to ourselves. We just need that little bit of an in. We're feeling a little bit down. We're feeling insulted. We got some email we didn't like. We didn't get included in something. Whatever it is, that to be able to come in and just say to ourselves, oh, sweetheart, that hurts, right? And petting ourselves like, oh, that was tough. It's like, yeah, it is tough. It does suck. It does hurt, right? Just talking to ourselves in a way that is acknowledging the pain that we're feeling, right? We're not deluding ourselves that we're in a difficult situation or that we're not feeling pain. So by acknowledging it, but in a kind way of saying like, oh, sweetheart, that was tough. Like, that was embarrassing, but you're okay. Everybody makes mistakes. And the wisdom just starts to come after that, right? Oh, you can't take it personally. You can't be included in everything. And it's okay. This will pass. And you just start with those first few words, oh, sweetheart. And I love starting that way. Oh, sweetheart, that was tough. That was brutal, or whatever it is. So talking kindly to ourselves. And then the third one is saying these just two words. You find yourself, this is a really good one if you've just had a disagreement with someone, maybe a political disagreement with someone. And we know what happens as we walk away from the conversation and we want to go up in our heads and, oh, they shouldn't be thinking this. And we want to start countering the argument. Placing our hand on our heart and just repeating over and over and over, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. I mean, I'll say it 100 times if I have to, 200 times if I have to. Because while you're saying the words, I forgive, which are just such beautiful words, it's like you can go down, you have two paths in front of you. You can go down the path of closing your heart and resentment and wanting to be right, needing to be right, or just by saying those words, I forgive, allowing it to bring you down the path of compassion. And as you keep saying those words, your heart does start to open up and the wisdom does start to come in. And then you might say to yourself, I forgive myself for even just having those unkind thoughts for a few moments, or just, you don't even say like, I forgive them for having different views, but just, it might be a situation where someone was unkind to you and you even get to that point, you say, I forgive them. They're probably having a tough day. They probably don't know what they're doing, right? Because we all act pretty carelessly when we're having tough days, when we're stressed, when we're not doing well. And we can just see things more clearly. So gratitude bowl is kind of a preemptive practice, a good daily practice. Give them as gifts this Christmas, right? I mean, get the little, I get these on Amazon, the little pink bags. And it's a beautiful gift to give to people. And then I forgive and talking kindly to ourselves. So just to remember the other practices that we can do to keep our hearts open. And then we're going to do the heart-centered meditation now.